cheesy chickpea and bean gratin, along with juicy pork and the crunchiest crackling in this epic summer roast pork fennel and bean gratin. I've got a beautiful piece of free-range pork loin, right? It's been French trimmed, and it's got 6 ribs here. What I'm gonna do is just show you some very basic butchery that really anyone can do. If you look at the fat, can you see there's a little seam here, right? So what I'm gonna do is take my knife, and very gently, just score down that seam. Then I'm gonna go to the side. See there's that little line here again? Very gently, follow that line. And then I'm gonna go to this side. So I've done the 3 sides of the pork, nothing technical, right? And then we can just start following that line. So I've literally cut the fat in half. Flip this over. Now you can score a skin with your knife. What I have is a Stanley knife that I use just for the kitchen. But you can also control the depth of the blade. Very carefully, drag it down to get a nice little score. This will allow the heat of the oven to get in to the skin and give you the most amazing crackling. On the other side, just score the fat like that, and that's gonna help it render quicker. So the crackling, ready to go. Now onto the pork. You're not trying to cut into the meat, just lightly scoring down, creating texture. The fat will render, and it will baste the pork as it renders, and we like that. Right, let me wash my hands. There's a spice that I love, which is fennel seeds. A couple of teaspoons of that with a couple of teaspoons of salt, a couple of teaspoons of pepper, and then nutmeg. I'm just gonna finely grate into a pestle and mortar. This is gonna create the most beautiful seasoning for the pork. Then we're gonna use the pestle just to crack up the fennel seeds. And we've created this texture on the pork and on the skin, and now it's open to all these amazing sort of spices, all those little kind of grooves and concertina cuts filling up. This is how we achieve beautiful flavour. Get it right in there, all the little grooves. So, a nice wide casserole pan, medium-high heat. I'm gonna add a tiny amount of oil. Then I'm gonna go in fat side down with the pork. So let that do its thing. At the same time, get a nice little roasting tray ready. And I'm gonna start clanking up some fennel. It's a wonderful, wonderful vegetable. Take the bulb like this. The little mini bulbs I'll put in whole. And then this bigger bulb, I'll just split in half, like that. And that will roast down and be beautiful. So basically, we've got a fennel trivet. If we have a little look at this pork here, if I turn it over, look at that. Come on. That's what it's all about. Flavour, colour, and toasting those spices. So in there as well, put a little bit of onion action, bulb of garlic in half. One last thing I like to do is introduce a herb. I've got some sage. It could be thyme, it could be rosemary. Use this as a herb brush, right? Angle that pan with that amazing pork fat and get the sage leaves in there. The smell right now is phenomenal. I can put this in and around the tray and we can just mix all of this up and then just move the pork and look at that. Sizzling and beautiful and ready to roast. I'm gonna put it at the bottom of the oven at 200 degrees Celsius, which is 400 Fahrenheit. And then, clever bit, we're gonna take this crackling, right, give it a little bit of that amazing fat, like that, and we're gonna put this directly above it, straight on the bars. And all that excess fat is gonna rain down on here and just baste, love, and care for that pork. Let's get the baste for the beans going, okay? So, I'm gonna take these fennel stalks and I'm gonna roughly chop them, just kind of like centimetre chunks. And even though we've had the raw pork on here, like this is all gonna get cooked. We're gonna fry this off in all that rendered pork fat. This is an onion from the garden, but you can use white onion, red onion, centimetre slices. Just get your garlic, just finely sliced. 4 or 5 cloves of garlic, go in, and just stir it. And I want to cook this for about 15 minutes. Time for a nice little clean. And then we can put the rest of this gratin together. It's not seasoned yet, so you want a little bit of salt going in and pepper. I want to add to this story cider. About a glass. Now I turn the heat up and we'll cook most of that away, there is a secret ingredient that will divide people. You don't have to do it. 3 fillets of anchovy, a little bit of the oil. What I've got here is like a little story of beans. Chickpeas first, then butter beans, look at those, and then cannellini beans. I've got some creme fraiche and a little bit of Parmesan. Now, you can use any cheese you want, a little grating of Parmesan. It looks more than it is, it's about 100 grams or so. So let's finish off this gratin by adding 3 or 4 tablespoons of creme fraiche. And the smell is amazing. Turn the heat off and add the Parmesan. A little bit of Parmesan on the top, and this is ready to go in the oven. Now, that pork, I reckon, it's had pretty much an hour now. Let's have a little look at that. I'm really pleased with that. Look at that crackling. At this stage, we're gonna put this gorgeous gratin in the oven, same temperature. In about half an hour, that's gonna be perfect. This pork has had an hour, so I'm gonna rest it for half an hour. And mix that all up in all those last bits of juices, and I'm gonna pop that in for 5 or 10 minutes until it's really golden and gorgeous. Let's get those beautiful veggies out. Look how lovely this fennel has cooked. Okay, time to carve the pork. Take that rib and cut down confidently to reveal just a hunk of pork. Look at that. Juicy, juicy pork. Gnarly on the outside, pearly white on the inside. But I do want to give you a second choice. It's very, very simple. I'm gonna run the knife next to these ribs here, angling it towards the ribs, not the meat. So these are like little baby back ribs. But what you've really done is free up this beautiful loin of pork. Go as thin as you can. You're able to stretch your portions further, which is good for your wallet, good for your health. And then when it comes to the crackling, obviously the best bit is the noise. Back onto the platter we go. How exciting is this? Let's get the gratin out. Beautiful, sweet fennel gratin with chickpeas, beans, Parmesan. It's like a little sea of heaven. Right, let's serve up. Let's go for our pork. I'm gonna go for the chunk. And then let's get that beautiful fennel. A couple of little bits of crackling, just so good. So a few bits of those fennel herbs on top. Let's get onto the pork. Look at that chop. The meat is really tender. Utterly delicious.